Welcome to Rootstem Gaming. This is the big FAQ of September 2018. Hi guys, right, Paul here from Rootstem Gaming. I've just basically I've left it a little bit before I did my own little comments on the betas, simply because they came out at the time where I'm going to be going, I was playing a game anyway this particular weekend, so it gave me a little chance to be able to test and sort of test some of these beta rules that they have. We knew about the Battle Brothers, which is of course on the front page of the FAQ. We knew the Psychic Focus was coming in. This is just a confirmation of the rule. I'm alright with that. I think sometimes certain psychic powers can be used way too much, and it does mean that you're just not going to sit there and just smite everything. Targeting characters has been set in stone. Again, in majority of my games I've been doing the erratas anyway, the beta rules anyway, so it didn't really make much of a difference to me. Now, page 2, we're going to have the beta match play rules. These match play rules are basically for tactical reserves. It does state that, of course, Genestealer Cult are affected by this, but apparently they're going to have a change when their codex comes out. Looking forward to that. Got a cool time with myself. Quite like the idea of having some proper stratagem cards for them, and some nice big, well, dare I say it, some nice big rules. Now, the new tactical reserves, of course, are basically just they've got rid of the fact that you can't have you can't arrive. You've got to arrive after turn 1, so it's kind of bringing back the old school sort of reserve rules, but you didn't have to roll for it. And of course, if it's not on, if finally a unit not on the battlefield by the end of the third battle round, a match play game counts as being destroyed. Not quite sure how that's going to affect that. I believe it's one of the Tyranid creatures that can burrow on and come back up. Because if it can't come in until turn 2 and then burrow again and then come back up, it's not really gonna. It's going to be off the board. But I have had some people stating to me that's because it's not in reserve, it doesn't count. Again, I think that will be up to interpretation. We actually had his own house rules regarding that particular creature because it didn't seem as effective, and it seemed like the points value for it had been included for it to come into turn 1 and mess people up. I'll figure which character that is out and I'll put it on the screen. So basically as well, I believe they've put something else further into deep striking that states that rather than it being power level, because a lot of people don't play power level, I'll be honest, majority of people I come across, they all play points values. They've stated that it can't be more than half of your points value, which makes a lot more sense, because I'll be honest, that's what we were, in my club, we were kind of doing that anyway. Rather than using the power level, we were actually using the points value. So like, if it's a 2,000 point game, up to 1,000 points can be in reserve, and that's pretty much the maximum. Now there is a couple of erratas, seems a little bit irrelevant, just rewordings, making sure that people are playing the cult, are playing the particular rules right for certain stratagems, and for certain cards. I mean, like the ones that are affected mostly is the Raven Guard and the Alpha Legion at the top. To be honest with you, they are exactly the same thing. It's just one's for Space Marines, one for Chaos Space Marines. And of course, it's mainly affecting what I would call infiltrators. So it's the the Knight Spear and the Rangers and the Codex Mechanicus for the Stages. It's just basically saying that you can't move more than 9 inch within 9 inch of enemy models. Just trying to keep it more into your usual sort of like 9 inches away and having a difficult charge on first turn. Now, extra is now going to be 2 rules which I think they're going to be quite useful. I'm not quite sure about the points cost for stratagem points for the first one, which is this prepared positions. So basically, at the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins until the end of the first turn, all units from your army that are wholly within your deployment zone receive the benefit of cover, even while they are not entirely on or in a terrain feature. Any unit that is already receiving the benefit of cover gains no additional benefits for the stratagem. 2 command points. I don't think it should be 2. I think it should be X amount of command points depending on the size of the game that you're playing. So for example, up to 1001, up to 2002, up to 3003, so on and so forth. That would make more sense, because of course 2 command points could be really powerful if you're playing a really big game, or if you're playing something that's 750 points, it's not that cracking, I'll be honest. 2 command points can be quite a lot, especially when it comes to the 750 points values, unless you're playing someone like Guard, who's probably got 2 battalions in that sort of army, especially when you're only paying about 50-60 points per squad. It is going to bring about the stoppage of a lot of people being able to annihilate you in that sort of first turn. It's going to give us a slightly better percentage chance of being able to save, especially when it's your vehicles, because it says any unit receives the benefit of cover as long as it's not Titanic. So that's going to be quite interesting for a lot of tanks. Maybe that's been sat there and people are trying to hit the tanks. So your Leman-Russ battle tanks have become quite hard with a 2+ armour, toughness 8 and 2+ armour. And Land Raiders, they'll be even harder. But it is cover. So units that ignore cover, such as my favourite, Crimson Fists, you're not going to be able to do it against them. Which to me is another bit of a faux pas. What it should be is like the take cover that you can have from the Imperial Guard stratagems, which basically means that you actually +1 to your save overall. It's not a cover save, you just +1 to your save. And I think that would have actually suited that a lot better. Or even a -1 to hit, an additional -1 to hit. Though some Raven Guard units are pretty much -2 to hit when you're trying to shoot them on a first turn. So maybe not with certain units if you're already affected by this when you don't count, but I think it could have been a little bit different, but we'll see. I've not been able to play with the prepared position so far, so I'll give it a good whirl in some games and get back to you guys. The next one I quite like is the Tactical Restraint. Now this stops you from being able to gain more than one stratagem or command points back per in match play games anyway, per battle round. So if you get one back in your round and it's still the same battle round for your opponent, and then you can't get one back from his round. This is going to stop a lot of command point farming. We've tested it out in some games before, where of course we've actually had a lot of units. There's a typical one where you can have the Warlord and the Relic from the Imperial Guard / Astra Militarum. And basically every time you're using command points and your opponent's using command points, you're rolling dice to try and get them back. I even think at one point, one side, when we were playing some of the games, ended up with more command points than what it started with. Whether or not you're allowed to do that, that's just how it seemed to roll. So that, to me, it makes sense. It stops people from being able to, and then of course it makes them a valuable commodity. So therefore you kind of sat there thinking to yourself, do I do this? Do I not do this? And if you do get it back, it'll be even better for yourself. There's a bit of a balancing review as well for some other stratagems. Codex of Demons, for example, can't have now a 2+. Apparently there was some way of getting a 2+ invulnerable save. You can't have that now. It's to a maximum of 4+. Some stratagem point changes for the Blood Angels, Knights and Drakari / Dark Eldar. And of course there's a bit of a reword into some Agents of Vect. I don't play Dark Eldar, nobody in my club plays Dark Eldar, so it's not really something that we're going to come across. The Codex Imperial Knights we probably will do, but I'll be honest with the Knights that we've played so far, you don't really get to use a lot of command points or strategies with them. And that is page 5, ladies and gentlemen. That will basically be it. So it's not a long one, it's not a complicated one. It's just setting in stone some of the stuff that we've already seen, giving us a couple of more balancing acts, and that's it. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It's just going to give us a little bit of a deviation, and of course not being able to come in from tactical reserve on turn 1 at all will stop players, I believe, from doing a nice little dirty tactic that some Eldar players have been doing with Dark Reapers, having a big squad of 10, and then you just put them in a webway. And then of course it means that no one, if you get the first turn, fantastic, you can have them turn up and start shooting. If your opponent gets the first turn, it means you can't touch them. So it is going to stop a lot of dirty tactics, especially in match play games. And I'm all up for stopping the dirty tactics. I much rather prefer to play fluffy and sometimes the underdog. than playing a straight up look how many points I can do and look what I can destroy in a single turn fight. Well, thank you very much for listening. There is some more as well. Now I'll put the link to the FAQ that Games Workshop has released down below. There's some more little additions and changes to some of the other codexes, but from what I've seen, it's only one or two things that have changed. There's nothing that much that's gone through this time round. They're probably waiting for when they can actually release another chapter approved, probably at some point near Christmas or just after. Which I'll be waiting for, because of course I like to have additional missions. But thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Join me at twitch.tv/Rootstem Gaming. Bit haphazard when that goes up, but hey, if you're already locked on there, it will tell you. As well, buy a t-shirt from Teespring, and the website will be coming soon. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.